compressed into 3 sentences because Anika wasn't asking for an explanation. She was asking for the truth, and those are not always the same thing. She looked at him for a moment. Then she nodded once, turned and walked back toward the dock. She didn't say thank you. She went back to work, which was the only thing she needed to do. The dismissal came on a Thursday morning. 1 page. The New York court threw out Cole's interference claim on jurisdictional grounds. No discovery, no further proceedings, no delay. Soren read it on his phone sitting at the small table in his Memphis hotel room. He set the phone face down. He didn't feel relief exactly. It was closer to the feeling of putting down something heavy that you'd been holding so long you'd stop noticing the weight. The 96 hours were over. The clock Cole had tried to start never ran. Dana called 20 minutes later. She gave him the news in 2 sentences, then paused and said something he hadn't expected from her. In 14 years, I have never seen Cole Vance's team file in the wrong jurisdiction, not once. She said she didn't know whether it was a genuine error, the kind that comes from exhaustion or overconfidence, or whether Cole had let it fail deliberately, one last way of controlling the outcome, by surrendering it. She said she genuinely didn't know. That uncertainty coming from Dana was its own kind of information. The Memphis Bankruptcy Court confirmed the competing restructuring plan 3 days later. 214 of 240 jobs were preserved. The side letter, a document a retired maintenance worker had kept in a drawer for 30 years because he thought someone would eventually need it, was formally entered into the public record. Soren and Dana stood in the courthouse corridor after the hearing, the building quiet and high-ceilinged around them. Neither of them said much. There was nothing left to argue about, which is a rarer feeling than winning. Cole's text came that evening. 7 words. Well done. Wrong lesson, but well done. Soren read it twice in his car in the courthouse parking lot, the building's reflection sitting flat in his windshield. He thought about replying. He thought about it for almost 2 minutes. Then he put the phone in the cup holder and sat with the quiet. Cole had spent 30 years being right about returns. Soren still didn't know whether wrong lesson was a warning, a concession, or just the only way Cole knew how to lose. The final number closed at 18.7%. 4-year timeline, 214 jobs preserved, the side letter honored and on record. Soren would make real money on the Hargrove deal. He would make less money than Cole would have. Both of those things were true at the same time, and they didn't cancel each other out. He sat at his desk in the city that evening and looked at the spreadsheet. The actual figure, not a projection, not a memo, the real closing number, and tried to decide how he felt about it. He kept coming back to wrong lesson. Cole had never been careless with words in 30 years. Every conversation Soren had ever had with him was precisely calibrated, the pauses as deliberate as the sentences. So what did wrong mean? Wrong because Soren had cost himself $4.1 million. Wrong because honoring the agreement publicly made the deal harder to replicate next time. Or wrong in the way someone says it when they know they would have made the same call if they were less afraid of what it cost them? Soren didn't have the answer. He suspected Cole didn't either, and that the text was the closest Cole would ever come to saying so. The last day of the confirmation period, Soren drove back to Memphis and stood in the Hargrove parking lot at dusk. The facility was lit from inside, amber through the high windows, the sound of it running steady through the walls. He didn't go in. He just stood there and looked at a building full of people who were still working because a retired maintenance man had kept a photocopy in a drawer and a union lawyer had called on a Monday morning, and he had made a decision at 11:47 at night that he couldn't take back. 18.7%. He would carry that number for the rest of his career. Different people would hear it and think different things. He had decided to be at peace with what it meant to him, not proud, not certain, just at peace. And that, he was learning, was not the same as being done with the question. Soren walked away from $4 million to honor an agreement Cole expected him to bury. Would you have done the same? Or would you have found a way to justify Cole's play?